Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here with meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Boy, we are tracking one heck of a storm system moving in. It's one thing to say severe weather, Chris, but we've got so many different things going on here. So let's try to get to some of the warnings first because there's so many on here. The leading edge of this is producing the severe weather. So we've got these severe thunderstorm warnings. And what's interesting about these warnings is most of these have 70, maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds in there, Chris.
And the crazy thing is there are multiple severe thunderstorm warnings here, and I measured it. This is about an 80-mile swath that we have warnings, and it's anywhere from just seeing wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour or the main line wind gusts up to about 60 miles per hour. And it's been a crazy development because we are seeing so much wind mixed down from about a mile up. Brad's been bringing up constantly in all of his forecasts, all of the vlogs, about the low-level jet. It's about a mile above our head, where you're having winds over 100 miles per hour. We've clocked it multiple times, and whenever you have that strong of a wind, there's a roar to the atmosphere. These are constantly mixing down, and we have multiple trees down. We have multiple power outages in the thousands, and this is only the beginning. We have not even seen the worst of the winds, and the thing is, this is a multiple-hour event. So with this much damage already, with more hours of gusts from 45 to even 60 miles per hour, you got to heed the warning and try to stay off the roads. And a lot of you are likely not going to be able to watch this stream via the internet because power might be lost in your neighborhood.
Yeah, so let's talk about the tornado watch, which is up till 6 o'clock. If we could take weather one, guys, that tornado watch is up till 6 o'clock, and that's for the leading edge. We're really worried about the leading edge of this line, where we have the severe thunderstorm warnings right now. That possibly could produce a quick spin up. And I actually am very thankful they put out the tornado watch because people tend to take tornado watches more seriously than severe thunderstorm watches, because even outside of tornadoes, we could have 60, 70, 80-mile-per-hour winds, which is the equivalent of EF0 type tornadoes. And with that strong of wind, it can cause damage very similar to a tornado. So I tweeted out earlier, I think it's a good idea if you're at home, maybe not in your shelter location, but maybe stay towards the middle of the house, away from the windows. And if you have trees on one side of your house, that are, maybe more wooded, I might want to stay away from that side of the house because we've just seen so many trees come down, as you mentioned, Chris. And I think the power outage thing is just going to spike as well as we go through the afternoon, because within that line, we're seeing just these tremendous amounts of rainfall.
It's not often that you have a day that there is a tornado watch, and it is not as big a concern as some of the other ones. This is a crazy setup, because I was digging some facts earlier. Since December 9th, exactly 1 month ago, we now could factor in the rain that we've had today. We've had close to 8 inches of rainfall.
Crazy.
So think about it. We were in severe drought, and now you're overcoming that. And if you notice, it was January 6th, the last rain that we had. Your yard, wherever you were, likely flooded a lot quicker. The reason why is we're so saturated. So we have saturated soils on top of what we already saw this morning. So multiple trees have already come down, and there's a lot more of these winds. And sometimes it's a numbers game as far as hours go. That it's not just, hey, here's one gust. You have constant wind gusts that weaken the root system, start to break it slowly, could even crack a branch, and then eventually that large limb comes down on power lines. That one tree finally gives up, and we have many more hours to go.
Yeah, it's the stress. You get pushed on a tree for 6 or 7 hours, and then eventually maybe even a lighter wind tonight after the front moves through could topple a tree. And this time of year, we're so susceptible to flooding anyways, because everything's dormant. There's no leaves on the trees. The sun angle's low. There's low evaporation rate. So when the rain hits the surface of the ground, it tends to run off a lot quicker, and we get flooding so much easier this time of year. Now, I wanted to plot the winds here. We have them on the screen, but you could see some of these winds. Now, these aren't at the surface. Most of these are between 500 and 1,000 feet up. But if you get a thunderstorm or a line like we have moving through, it mixes it down to the surface. It's very easy. Like, these little waves occur in the atmosphere, and the waves, the troughs, will actually mix down the air from the ridge, which is up in those strong winds, down to the surface. So you see, that's why you see these gusts. Like, it could go from a dead calm to all of a sudden a howling wind, and then it calms back down because that's the air kind of mixing down to the surface.
It's going to be constant too.
Yeah,
it is really crazy. The strength of. Could you bring up the low-level jet? I just want to show you this. This area of pink. Look at how long it holds on.
Huge.
So this is a big pump. For one, the temperature gradient's crazy, so that's pumping in some instability. But the area of pink is winds over 75 miles per hour, really close to 100 miles per hour. It sticks around. Let me see that. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're still seeing areas of 60-mile-per-hour winds at that point. It doesn't really give up until overnight. So that's what we're really talking about. The wind advisory for Charlotte goes until 10 p.m. for now. The National Weather Service already expanded it for the mountains. It could be expanded a little bit later on. So right when you think it's calming down, you could have the last few-minute gusts, few-minute trees could fall. So it's time to be weather aware, I would say, even through the overnight hours as well.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed this morning when I started looking at some of the data, that the winds behind the front were almost as strong as they were along it. So, and that's always a concern because sometimes people let their guard down as they go into the overnight hours. I was going to try to grab our wind forecast here. I think I have one in here somewhere that we can show you, but to kind of show you the futurecast winds and just to show you how strong these winds are. Now, you see the gust already. We're seeing some of those, but watch as the front moves through behind it.
Doesn't give up.
Look at that. That's 1 o'clock in the morning. The winds actually perk back up. And this might be a little bit of what we sometimes refer to as a sting jet. It's not the classic setup, but on the backside of departing low pressure systems, sometimes that southwest flow going into the low pressure. You got to think about the low. It's tracking up in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and behind it we're seeing these really strong winds. So 1 o'clock in the morning, the winds are still howling, and then we go into tomorrow morning, and yeah, they begin to calm down eventually, but I really am impressed with how strong the winds are on the backside of this system. So just don't think if the winds calm down and the rain moves out and we're done, it's probably going to be a pretty long night ahead for a lot of wind, a lot of noise.
And it's a really unique setup as well, Brad, because if you notice, why are the winds so much calmer in the foothills? Well, for one, you're seeing a tremendous amount of rain, so temperatures can mess with some of the wind profiles there. So you're looking at a much cooler environment. It's much wetter there as well, but you have the perfect setup that you have that driving force ahead of the front. Then meanwhile, you have the low to the northwest, where that's almost kind of the dead zone. Sometimes you get like a dry slot that sucks in. You can also start to see a little bit of lull. But here's what we're talking about, the temperature gradient. So a gradient is just going to be the difference of the temperature.
I mean, that's crazy.
44 degrees in Shelby, 60 degrees in Gastonia. And if you look at our tornado watch, it's areas in yellow that are pretty much under the tornado watch. Only exception would be Iredell County here. And then all the areas in the blue, not so much, because you're a lot more stable. You can't support a severe profile, but you're seeing a tremendous amount of rain. A 40-degree rain compared to a 62-degree rain is substantial.
Yeah, so right there, this is why the winds are calmer. That surface layer is a dense layer of cold air. It might only be 1,000 feet or less thick, but the strong winds are going over the top of it, so they're not making it to the surface. When you get warm air, it's kind of like when you boil water and you get bubbles forming on the bottom of the pot and they go all the way to the top. You start mixing the thing up, and that mixing is what causes the wind. So, yeah, it's crazy to see that front. I mean, 44 in Shelby, 60, Gastonia, 62. We might even go higher with this south wind because it's going to force some really warm air up into our region. Just a heads up, if we do get some warnings today, there might be a couple different warnings you're not used to seeing. Severe thunderstorm warnings, Chris, are broken into 3 categories now. We've got the basic, which is 58-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch diameter hail. We're not worried about hail at all today, by the way.
Zero hail.
No hail setup. It's all because of wind. But once you get to 70-mile-per-hour winds, it's called considerable. And that's kind of the threshold where I would say you'd want to seek shelter in your home in the middle. And then destructive is 80 plus, and that will actually alert your phone with something called a WEA. That stands for Wireless Emergency Alert. So you don't pay for this. This isn't an app. This is because of your cell phone and your cell phone carrier. It sends out automatically, kind of like those Amber Alerts or the Blue Alert we got a couple weeks ago. This will automatically come to your phone with that very loud, annoying EAS tone, and it will tell you that you need to seek shelter immediately.
And we've already seen one considerable report, not here, it was down to the south. And you also might see a difference if you're tracking a radar app, that instead of the yellow polygons, as we're seeing here, sometimes they're orange, meaning that there's a tornado tag. And we haven't seen a tremendous amount of tornado warnings closer to home. The last one I saw was in Atlanta earlier on, but that doesn't mean that we're done.
You know what's interesting about that, Chris, just to interrupt you, was that was actually back in the cold part of the summer. It was in the 40s, which was kind of weird to see a tornado warning when it was in the 40s. So that's why you got to be a little concerned up here, because we could see a tornado warning even on the backside of the really warm air. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
no, not at all.
I threw up the storm reports, too, just to show you the wind reports. back to the west. Now, there's some ice reports. We actually had ice this morning in the mountains. I know this morning you were tracking that, Chris, with Larry. And there's a 1/4 inch of ice in Watauga County.
It got to a 1/4 inch of ice. Wow. And a lot of that was on elevated surfaces.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it wasn't a complete sheet of ice and like an ice skating rink. And then, of course, that all changed over to a very cold rain. But those wind reports that you're seeing are a non-thunderstorm. And that's also the crazy thing, because it doesn't matter about these severe thunderstorm warnings. Yes, the elevated wind threat is there, but we've already had the potential of almost severe wind gusts outside of the polygon actually popping up.
Yeah, so we've talked about tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, wind. We got to talk about rain now, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the number of flood warnings we have right now. And some areas in the mountains and foothills, those upslope areas, especially down towards like Transylvania County, which is between the upstate of South Carolina and North Carolina. I saw a total down there. Yeah, right there. See how purple? That's almost 9 inches of rain.
Yeah, I want to bring this up. Tigerville.
I mean, that is incredible. And we're getting reports down in that area of washed out roads. Just a lot of flash flooding going on, because that line of storms, while the individual storms are moving north quickly, the whole line is just barely pushing east. So the rainfall rates within that line have at times been as high as 4 to 5 inches of rain per hour. That's not something we normally see here in January at all.
Yeah, even some of these rain rates per hour right now popping up. That's showing over 2. And some of these can be overdone. I will admit that. But I think that this general range about that
pretty legit right there.
Yeah, 1/2 inch to 1 inch per hour is not the question. And there's certain parts that are moving a little bit quicker here, but also really want to focus in on that severe thunderstorm warning. We're really starting to see the leading edge for the heaviest rain now moving just east of Gastonia. So if you live in Mecklenburg County, you're going to start to see it around Paw Creek. Mount Holly, you've really seen an uptick of the rain as well. And it's also that leading edge that we've been seeing some of the gustier winds as well.
Chris, do me a favor. Go up to Catawba County. Yeah, this was a pull up the velocity. Go up towards Catawba County. I just got a report around the Claremont, Catawba area. So that would be right here in the southeast. Go back a frame or two there.
Okay.
Just got a report of a lot of damage in that area. And I'm looking at the pictures right now. Joey Mostetler, one of our spotters.
All right, here we go. So
he's thinking they might have had a quick spin up. There's a lot of trees and power lines down, and some people trapped in their homes. I'm looking at some pictures right now. He just sent me a message.
What you see?
Pretty extensive wind damage in there. So it doesn't look like it may be. That looks like really strong straight line, possibly.
Yeah, let's bring up the
switch to terminal. Let's see if we got.
Okay. Let's see if we can backtrack.
So that's Old Catawba Road near Cindy Lane, Midnight Drive, Evening Drive.
See, it's up. Yeah. Oh, wait. Wow. And look at this. When you bring up the terminal, it is a little bit of the folding. Yeah.
That's
you can really start to see that.
Yeah, I think we had a little tornado spin up right there.
Wow, right there.
Yeah.
And I can actually freeze it for a frame here. And, trying to factor in some of the winds. In this case, if it was a spin up, you go gate to gate, so the positive and the negative numbers. So that would
grab some data. That's definitely. I think that was a tornado, Chris.
Yeah, it looks like it, and because if you factor in just the winds there, just doing some simple math, that could be anywhere from an early estimated EF1. Strong EF0, because that would bring winds close to about 90 miles per hour if this was indeed. But the reason what we're looking for right here is radar going towards and away. Yeah. But, if that was reported, and then look right here.
Well,
right
the fact that we got reported damage in that exact area, the radar looks like that, that's pretty good confirmation of something.
If we can get the image that you just showed me, Brad.
I'm going to try to turn this around for us.
Yeah, let's try to turn it around. It takes a little bit, saving your images. No, but this is also what we really want to mention. This is one of the cooler sides of everything here. This is not a tornado warning. This is how quickly that this can happen. And I don't have the minute by minute here. Let me adjust the clock. But literally, this is likely about a 2 to 5 minute event, the way it's looking.
Yeah, this crossed Interstate 42, by the way. Just got damage reports as it crossed over 40.
Yeah, that's it. And we have the disadvantage here because you're noticing this little cone that's missing there. There's blind spots in a terminal radar, and that's that one right there. This is a testimony of what you can expect. You don't need a tornado warning to pop up for it to happen. Oftentimes, honestly, when we have some of the tornado warnings, things and events like this already happen because these are the spin-up tornadoes. On average, they're quick moving. They last for a couple minutes, and then they're back up. And it's going to be along this line that you're going to see a lot more activity like this. Brad's going to get the image there, but I want to go back just to the radar in general to see what else might be happening around the area, if anything similar, because that system is now way gone. You would have just stronger winds now here off towards the north. It's pretty far from the center, so you're looking at, let me see, Cleveland up here in Rowan County. I still think you're probably seeing a 50-plus wind gusts as well. And we're not even actively in the warning here as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at so much damage in that area. It looks like a path went right through there. So it looks. I'm not going to report this, but there's been definitely some damage up in that area. So I'll confirm this other information, but it doesn't sound really good in that area.
Wow, and again, putting into perspective here, I'll put a marker on here where it was. It was right about here. There's a little high-pressure system. That was the icon that was in there. That's where this happened, but notice where the actual warnings that we've been tracking is, the main line. That shows that this general push, you could have those quick spin-ups because there's a lot of wind shear. And I'll bring up this. I want to show you the rotation tracks that we are potentially tracking. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more of these embedded events that you're going to have these quick spin-ups to winds. Also, you could have a bunch of wind surge to the surface that could be anywhere from that 50 to 60-plus mile per hour range. But check this out. So this is our rotation tracks that we're showing. This is lagging a little bit behind, but as this system is moving further off towards the east, it hasn't really been raining in Anson County and Stanley County as well. So when these tracks, you're only going to have a better push in rotation to the atmosphere to create a lot more events like we just saw in Catawba County. We're going to show you the images about how quickly that happened, how vast the damage is. So I'm saying that as this line is already promoting some severe thunderstorm warnings, gusts up to 60-plus miles per hour, I think it's going to get a lot worse as it's crossing the I-77 corridor. And at this point, no other real reports except for just an occasional downed tree. But that one in Catawba County is definitely the worst that we see. Again, if you're just joining us,